good to see him back in better spirits. I hope it hasn't taken him straight back into the doldrums, because we want to see Hamilton at his best at Ferrari. We haven't really seen it. We've seen one victory in the sprint race, which seems like so far a fluke.
You're with On Track, talkSPORT's motorsport show, looking back at the Dutch Grand Prix in the 2025 Formula One World Championship. I'm John Jackson with Piers Pryor, former F3 driver and Sky Sports commentator for F3, alongside me. Don't forget you can catch this show on the talkSPORT network every Tuesday and onwards, and then on the talkSPORT podcast network and the talkSPORT Driving YouTube channel as well. Ferrari's weekend, in preparation for one of their home races at Monza next weekend, was probably the worst they could have got. It probably couldn't have gone any more wrong. It was a series of incredibly unfortunate events. Piers, where would you like to start with Ferrari's misfortune?
Where do you start, really? Let's be honest. I mean, I'm going to start this with a little anecdote. I have been doing F1 Fantasy with my friends, and I've been keeping my unlimited token in my back pocket recently because all my mates have used it, and I've been sitting there pretty in, sort of mid-table thinking I'm going to have 200 or 300 points in the bag there. Used it, thought after summer break, I watched practice. I was like, right, the McLarens are quick. I reckon the Ferrari's going to be up there. So I went Norris and Piastri, Hamilton and Leclerc, picked the Ferrari and the McLaren, thinking, do you know what, I'm quid in here. And then thought, Alonso's looked pretty good this weekend. I'll throw him in too. I've been absolutely well and truly stuffed by that. I've scored less points than I normally would with the budget cap because Ferrari double DNF, Alonso P nowhere, P8, but
P8's not P nowhere, but yeah,
it's not P nowhere. But again, when I'm expecting in big things, and yeah, Ferrari the main culprits for me. And I mean, what can you say? It's just genuinely a series of unfortunate events. Hamilton, tough error, really. It's easily done, but you don't expect that from someone that experienced.
Yeah, so it was turn 3. They kind of had a magnet on that last little lip of the corner of turn 3. And for people who've not been to Zandvoort, like you see it on TV, it's the first kind of highly banked corner on that circuit. Can you just explain just how steep it is? Because I think when you're there, it seems a lot more steep in reality.
Oh, it's ridiculously steep. And I think you heard one of the team races. It was Liam Lawson when, who was it? Was it Hamilton's car? I think it was.
It was, yeah. When
they
his
said yellow, Hamilton
yeah.
wall. Yeah, yellow in the wall. And then Lawson, you can see him go through the corner and you can see it on the camera, on the car camera, that he's crashed. But with the way the helmets are, and it's so banked, it's effectively like the car is up above you, like you are on an oval in American NASCAR. And he didn't see him. And that's how steep it is. The corner isn't sort of through, it's sort of, you're almost going effectively up, and it's ridiculous. It's like a story or two high in a very, very tight corner, man-made. It's been changed for the introduction of the Formula One races. But yeah, ridiculously banked, very unusual corner for a Formula One car to go through, which is why they take that unusually wide line. They're basically going running around the outside. But the paint, the branding is off of the racing surface because of the, it's beyond the white line. Paint in the dry, fine, similar grip to the tarmac. But as soon as there's a bit of water, the water sits on top of the paint rather than sort of sinking into the surface. And just a bit wide when there was a bit of drizzle. Hamilton should have known better. Touched the paint into the wall, race over. And it adds to a string of tough results for Hamilton.
And we're talking about Lewis Hamilton, someone that we've watched over the years, and we know he's great in the wet. So that is a real, not a rookie error, but it's a silly error from him. Because he should know, having been a master of these conditions, that that'll be wet there. I can't go there. And I know that that's a tricky corner because, the corner, you almost have to, the corner has to be on your side because it kind of feeds you around. It gives you the impetus to accelerate out of the corner by using the banking to your advantage. But he just got it so wrong. And you've seen with, the debris that went everywhere, how a tiny little error can ruin your race and obviously nearly ruin Liam Lawson's race as well.
Do you know what? I would call it a rookie error from Hamilton, unfortunately, because even, it's easy to say armchair expert, but even as a driver when I was racing, if there's been rain and it's dried out, that you kind of have to just go underneath the racing line ever so slightly because all the cars are pounding round on the racing line, keeping it dry. As soon as you go a bit wider, it might be fine, but especially on a painted surface, it only takes a small amount of moisture and you can, the car, we saw it with Hamilton. And that's something you learn from karting and then it amplifies, gets worse even into cars. And if someone like Antonelli or Behrman or one of the full rookies made that error, it was almost a bit like, okay, yeah, rookie error there. But Hamilton just looking rusty, like this is not what we expect to see. he wouldn't have made that mistake, in my opinion, in 2020, 2019, 2018, because he would have been thinking, you know what, I don't need to take that risk. You might gain half a tenth by just using all the banking and use the banking to your advantage. But at what cost? And we saw that in the race on Sunday.
What do you think Lewis is thinking now? Because he came back after the summer break and he shared all the reflective photos of him with the dog chilling out. He came back, and in all the media stuff he did on Thursday, he said that he's feeling revitalized and kind of admitting that he'd let it all get a little bit over the top. And actually, for 18 months, we've been talking about Lewis Hamilton driving for Ferrari. So imagine the pressure that's on his shoulders. He's come back, he's feeling good. And then this has happened again before they go to Monza this coming weekend. I mean, what are the Italian fans thinking? What is Lewis thinking? It's just the worst preparation, along with then his teammate not finishing, which we'll discuss in a second.
Do you know what? It's one of those mistakes that if this had been a decent season so far and he made this one-off error, we see drivers make errors like this. And you can forgive yourself an error like that as a driver because its margins are fine and sometimes it happens. But from a driver with that much experience, and then off the back of what has been such a tough run, I really hope that it doesn't continue to add to the strains that Hamilton's been showing. Good to see him back in better spirits. I hope it hasn't taken him straight back into the doldrums, because we want to see Hamilton at his best at Ferrari. We haven't really seen it. We've seen one victory in the sprint race, which seems like so far a fluke. Going into Monza, I'm sure that'll give him some energy. I'm sure he'll turn up his best self. The Ferrari fans, the Tifosi, are going to love having Hamilton there as a Ferrari driver for the first time. So it won't take away from the celebrations and the atmosphere, but it's got to continue to be. It's just another little, what's that game where you pull the sticks out of the buckaroo? It's just another one. Like how many more sticks can we take out before Hamilton goes, you know what, maybe this is my time? And we speculated about a lot. We speculated when he'll be back next year. If we have a few more races like this, it's just looking more and more likely that he might just say, do you know what, it's not working out, I've had enough, see you later.
If only Ferrari had a young driver that they had in their academy that, started in the pit lane and finished, 6th on the track. Who knows? We are one small Lewis Hamilton issue away from me doing a whole episode on should Lewis Hamilton have retired after 2021, by the way. So that's the kind of level that we're getting to here. We also saw his teammates' misfortune, Charles Leclerc, which has provided us with actually quite a lot of entertainment since, because there are loads of different pictures of him sitting on that deck chair first of all, then that grassy knoll on the sandbank, which was the second one. There's him with a phone, because I guess he was trying to watch the race or something like that. So people have done memes of him ringing up, other teams to see if they've got a space for 2026. And it's provided a lot of entertainment, but for him, not a very entertaining situation with how he ended that race.
Yeah, I love the fact that they kept cutting to the drone on the inside of turn 3, which was right where he was. I don't think that was an accident. I've actually had the privilege of being in the director's room at Formula One HQ, listening to the director when with all the different cameras, and I think that would have been a choice that was made there. But yeah, just such an unfortunate race for Leclerc, because he didn't do a huge amount wrong. I mean, we can talk about the incident with Russell. We'll talk about the ins and outs of it, but from Leclerc's point of view, I would say absolutely brilliant move. Sent it around the outside, got on the inside. He did leave the circuit. We'll touch on that in a bit. Got through, was putting himself in a decent situation. Ferrari's not been amazing recently. Outperformed Hamilton in qualifying. Was looking racy, like he looked like he was at the races, ready to take the race by the scruff of the neck. And then, unfortunately, a clumsy Antonelli. There's nothing more he could have done, really, because it's so banked. If the corner was flat, Leclerc would have seen Antonelli coming in his mirrors better and probably would have just given him a bit more space. But the angle of the circuit, the mirrors are basically useless, because all you can see is the tarmac directly behind your car. So, yeah, Antonelli misjudged it. Leclerc didn't have a chance to avoid it. Out of the race.
Have you seen that they've launched what they're going to be? I presume their race suits are going to be blue for this weekend at Monza. They've just kind of shared photos of the fan merch that you can buy, and it's Lewis and Charles wearing the blue. But obviously Monza's going to be a huge race for Ferrari. How do you think they play this down? Because they couldn't have gone into this weekend in a worse state. There's currently, speaking on Tuesday, there are still memes going around of, one of their drivers looking like he's on a beach holiday somewhere in northern Netherlands. And then the other driver has made another mistake, having been hounded for making quite a few mistakes this year, which is out of character. That's not a great way to come into a race where you want to They probably won't challenge, but look like at least there's some momentum. How do you reckon they rescue this? Because we know the Italian fans are pretty demanding in their expectations.
Two things. First of all, I'm glad I'm not in PR at Ferrari right now. And secondly, I don't mean this in a derogatory, but the northern Netherlands is not my first choice of beach holiday location, having been there twice.
Yeah, well, to give you a bit of behind the scenes, the first time we had to hide in a shipping container type thing because of the storm that came down. And then the second time we had to record this radio show in a small hire car, which was meant to be recorded outside, in the nice sun by the sand dunes. Instead, we were getting attacked by pigeons and seagulls, and the weather was atrocious. So if you are considering Zandvoort for a nice summer holiday, just be aware that it might look like it's going to be sunny, but the weather can change very quickly.
Yes. But yeah, again, back to the Ferrari situation. They're going to have to just forget it. I think they're just going to not talk about it, just sweep it under the rug. It was a one-off. Let's all Ferrari, Monza, Tifosi, amazing. And it'll all be happy families, I'm sure. Ferrari generally saves something a bit more special for Monza. There's rumours always that Ferrari put more effort on winning Monza than others. They make sure their low downforce is good. I don't think in this day and age that there's actually anything measurable that goes into giving them a better performance. However, if there's any extra motivation to be had, Monza is it. And I'm sure that they'll be absolutely gunning for it.
Yeah, I'm sure as a driver that's crashed out, the last thing you want is more media than you get at any other race throughout the whole season. But unfortunately, that's what they're faced with. So a disastrous weekend for Ferrari, both drivers not finishing the race. So they will hope that Monza is a lot better to them next weekend. And of course, no memes come out of it unless they're successful memes of them both with a 1-2 or something like that.